Hello YouTube, welcome back over to GamingHouse, and I'm going to be bringing you the review of Mortal Kombat X, which I'm both a little excited for and rageful for. I should be mentioning that, of course, I'm reviewing this on Xbox One, and the reason I'm mentioning that, is because PC had a rough day one start. They couldn't actually play the game for, I think it was somewhere between 12 to 18 hours, and that's unfortunate for them, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and get started, jumping right into the analyzing of the story and all that. Just so you know, some spoilers will be talked about, particularly later when we definitely get to arcade ladders. So if you want to, go ahead and you can mute me, let the video play, all that fun stuff. There'll be, of course, bullet points, which are included in all my reviews from this point forward, that are spoiler-free. Plus symbols is a positive, minus symbol is a negative, and, circle, 0, or whatever. O, that's the letter. Capital O would be a neutral point that could be argued whether or not it's negative or positive depending on viewpoint. And of course, personal bullet points are there as well, detailing whether or not what I've played, what I've done, etc., or what I view as stuff. Anyway, getting back into the story. The story takes place a little whiles after MK9. Shinnok, who is a fallen Elder God, is now invading Earthrealm. And of course, Earthrealm was fighting back. Now, the story takes place between either this point in time or 20 years into the future, which is considered the present timeline. And at a few points, it goes back a little bit in between. But that's essentially the points of time at which this is taking place, which I kind of like, but I don't like. It kind of feels like it jumps around a little bit, which I'm on the jumping around. It'll be a neutral point for that one. Of course, campaign I thought was lengthy enough. Depends, of course, on skill and difficulty on how quick you get through it. I played through on easy because I was like 11 o'clock at night and I went on medium and Scorpion kicked the shit out of me and I was like, I'm turning this down. I'm too tired for this. Now, with the story, you get introduced to the new lead cast, which are essentially half of them are the children of old cast members of Jax, Sonya, Johnny Cage, as well as some other new ones, which are the offspring of Kenshi, who is Takeda, and Kunjin, who is a cousin of Kung Lao. And you kind of get to see more of their backstory, see that this is definitely going to be they're going to be part of the new cast of all that, while probably other people are going to be stepping down and no longer being a part of the franchise anymore because they're old. Unfortunately, with the campaign, I would have also liked a few more chapters for more characters, perhaps any of the other new ones and all that, or perhaps even Kenshi, who I've been playing as, and damn, he's like the hidden badass of this game now with all these moves and everything he's got. And if you've been following the Mortal Kombat comic and all that, and you've also been listening to any of the Twitch stuff with them and all that, one of his movesets called is Possessed, and that's where his sword gets broken. And apparently the souls had started to come out and kind of possess Kenshi and all. It's that's never touched upon in the story-wise segment, and you would never know of that unless you heard it from Twitch and all that. As same with Sub-Zero, if you're wondering why Sub-Zero isn't cybernetic anymore, one of the dialogues with Johnny Cage is it was an effect of Quan Chi's magic. But unless you're not fighting Johnny Cage ever with Sub-Zero, you're never going to get that dialogue, and you're not going to know. You're like, okay, so Sub-Zero is a human just because. So that'll end story discussion for right now. I'll let anyone else explore the possibilities of the story and all that, and let their experience speak for. Oh wait, no, I'm forgetting about QuickTime events. QuickTime events are now in the Mortal Kombat cutscenes and all that, and that's again an arguable point whether it's good or bad. From my experience with the QuickTime events, they don't result in instant death, at least in my instances where I failed. It's just the enemy got the upper hand, or they broke from me kicking their ass. So to my knowledge, which I have not researched if anyone else has failed the QuickTime events, they don't result in immediate death, at least in my playthrough they have not. That may differ with other people and all that if they messed up, but in my experience, if you fail, it's not always going to result in instant death then. Getting to another strong suit of this game is, of course, the environments in the game look fantastic, the character models look fantastic, the motion capturing, etc. All the usual stuff from Mortal Kombat's there. The X-rays are still in here. They still look awesome, fantastic, and brutal. Brutality's made a return, even though they are hard as hell. At least I have hard difficulty trying to pull off a brutality. It could just be me. I'm not the greatest player at fighters. And of course, fatalities are awesome and gruesome as hell, of course, and some of the sounds that they use are just sickening. Now, jumping into a bad point of the game is actually its multiplayer segment, which still does not function quite properly. There's lag in matches, and how it works is you can either try going into a quick match section, you can either go into unranked quick match or ranked quick match, but of course you don't know who you're going to be putting up against or whether the connection's going to be good or whatnot. Or you could go into rooms and actually search for individual people, look at their pings, look at their win-loss, and challenge said people to a match, and they may accept or decline, which is a upset here because you'd be trying to fight someone. Myself, who was 0-0, was being declined challenges by people who were like 1-2 or 2-0 and stuff, and not wanting to accept a fight for that. And in fact, I have to go off of the experiences of my friends who got into matches and all that, at least ones that they didn't disconnect from, and it's laggy. It's not a very fun experience. It's full of people spamming moves, which is also a negative I'll get into right now. Is online. It's not just online with people spamming moves. It's also the bots. The bots are incredibly spamming with their moves, and they just get these. I'm not even gonna color these bullshit moves and combos in. I mean, just watch this right here. That was from one of my friend's perspectives. So yeah, stuff like that happens, and it's rather rage-inducing and not fun when that happens a whole lot. But of course, you can't always just team up with your friends. I know I had a blast when I was playing a night or two ago with friends. We just got a King of the Hill match going. Two more were able to join in. One more couldn't connect with us, but that was fun, just playing around with friends and all that. You can always have a great time with that. The Crypt has also made a comeback, but it has also been revamped for a new experience. It is now in a first-person walking around mode that actually has you going around to each crypt area and buying said crypt things. And while you're doing all this, you can actually go and find items in the game, such as Scorpion's Spear, Sub-Zero's Ice Ball, or Raiden's Staff, that'll help you unlock and get to new areas within the crypt area map, or so to say, and which will unlock more, of course, crypts you can buy and get more fatalities, brutalities, icons, and all that, which can be used for these combat cards you now have, which have a icon, a background, and a border to be used for both cosmetic, what you can go with it's cool looking, or you can go with more beneficial, because each one has a perk to it, whether you earn more faction XP, regular XP, coins for doing actions such as stage interaction, fatalities, or faction kills. And also, for whatever reason they added, for jokes or whatnot, they whenever you're wandering around the crypt areas, you have the chance of being attacked by wild animals such as dogs, spiders, or corpses, depending on where you're at. And it's a bit of a jump scare moment. I still get rather jumped at it, despite always prepping myself and knowing that it's going to happen at some point. But you just never know when. Now, getting into some of the other side stuff before jumping into ladders, Test Your Might is back and now has its own tower, so feel free to start breaking your controllers and buttons while trying to do that. I have a secret technique I do that's not so secret. Just sit there and slide your thumb over the key things, wrap it like a band-aid or cloth or something. You can do it that way, or use a pen. There you go. I gave you a tip in this review. Be thankful. But that's returned. That's a different fun experience. Doing that will unlock a character skin. Test Your Luck is back as well. It's its own separate tower, which has, of course, each fight is randomized modifiers, increasing the number of modifiers as you go along in the tower. Now, also two more additions are Endless, which has you go against an endless tower, essentially keep going with increasing difficulty in enemies, which means they spam more often and get more of their combos in because they're flawless with it, as well as Survivor, which actually has your health does not recover entirely throughout the tower unless you do certain things to regain it. And of course they now have living towers, which are updated and randomized with each hour, day, and I believe I'm gonna guess week, so the premiere is weekly, and those have their own challenges and perks to them as well. And finally, classic tower, which is 10 opponents, and you just go straight through it. Well, it's actually 11 opponents with the final boss isn't like highlighted, and completing those will of course get you your character endings. And getting into this being more grounded and all that, they have more realistic endings, I would say, besides a couple, like Sub-Zero gets ice dragons, that's fucking cool. But in others, it seems that they're more realistic slash building an actual like after story of what actually happens after the campaign, as well as a possible setup for a sequel, such as considering like more than once they actually tie into each other. For instance, Kano trains his son to take his place. Kenshi and Takeda's tie in together where they go against the Red Dragon. Jax, Sonya's, and Aaron Black's all tie in where Aaron Black attempts to kill them. And in his ending, he kills them, but in Jax's ending, he interferes, and then in Sonya, but he's injured, but in Sonya's, it was revealed that Jax has died by an assassin's bullet. So all of them are more grounded and not a whole lot of kind of crazy cool ones, like, you know, ice dragons. Getting into some more technical and side stuff, and comparison to MK9 as well. Some of the buttons interactions for your combos don't seem to work quite well. I've sat there, and especially in practice, I'll sit there and watch. For instance, I'll use Goro's example of the ground pound. I'll sit there, down, down, B, and it won't work. Down, down, B won't work. Down, down, B won't work. And that's stuff that gets you killed in combat if you can't pull off your combos. And specials too. I realize I use a special for example, but it works for the specials as well. Another point is the fan service is toned down from this game, and by fan service in Mortal Kombat standards, I mean, of course, the sexualization of some characters is turned down. I can't talk anymore. And by that I mean less cleavage is showing, breast reductions, all that, which, you know, if you're into that stuff, you're gonna be slightly disappointed. And it's not just that. If you remember from MK9, when characters got beat up, they had huge gashes, maybe part of their jaw missing, cuts and all that, pretty much looking like they might not walk out of this alive. Whereas in this one, it's just simple cuts and bruises. So again, it's more grounded in kind of reality. So it's going to be whether or not you like that or not, that you may be a plus or minus for you. Now, getting into contrast with MK9, some things that aren't in this game now is tag matches are no longer in this, which I'm a bit disappointed in personally. I understand the reason behind it is because people in Versus didn't play it. However, when I would play tagged, it wasn't for Versus, it was a buddy or a brother or anyone I would have over. Hey, you want to just tag team a ladder real quick, have fun together? And that being gone's kind of missed me a little bit. They say they can patch it back in and all that, but day one it's not there, so mark that off. Another minus is for me is stage fatalities are gone, which is a shame, because if you look at some of these environments and all, it looks like there'd be opportunities for great stage fatalities, but unfortunately they have no return now for whatever reason, and it's kind of a disappointment there and step back in my opinion that they took those out, especially with things like in the jungle there's these weird animals and all, the crocodiles. Like, man, I would just love to throw an opponent to the crocodile, crocodile them. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the final verdict. As always, check the description below in case I miss anything or any of that. The final verdict is a 7.5 out of 10. As with my scoring, a half score means it just wasn't good enough to be an 8. And in my opinion, actually, a 7.5 is as low as this game can go. Which I might have listed a lot of positives and all of that, and some arguable points back and forth. It's equal parts fun, this game, and also equal parts rage. You'll have some great moments, and then you'll have moments where I'm going to put my fist through something right now. So of course with others it will vary. Whether or not you enjoyed the game, comment down below. I actually do enjoy it despite the score. Another thing I should mention to quick of this, it's nothing against the game itself, but microtransactions have found themselves into this game. Simple thing is just don't do them at all. Just don't buy into them. It's mean. I can't believe it actually worked its way into this game. So as always, I guess that'll be it for this. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. Again, whether you like the game or not, comment down below. And as always, you're welcome to come back over to GamingHouse for more gameplay and commentary.